The reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last week.
Yeah, they have nothing else to talk about. Maybe you should get the lawyer that worked on that Covington Catholic school case. What was that, a $200 million settlement? I think, Charlie, you could use the money, and your students definitely could too.
The verbal takedown you're about to witness wasn't a shouting match on a debate stage, nor did it involve a single shared glance between the combatants. It was a calculated surgical demolition that left one prominent media figure completely exposed, her carefully constructed public persona crumbling into dust. Picture a verbal WWE SmackDown, but without the spandex and where facts flew faster than hot takes at a Facebook comment war. Sunny Hostin, the self-appointed moral compass of the liberal media, found herself caught in the crosshairs of two formidable opponents, Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly, and what happened next wasn't just brutal, it was a masterclass in intellectual dismantling, revealing the hidden strategy behind a public figure's dramatic collapse. Buckle up, because this is how her fortress of bluster became a pile of rubble.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here, because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
For years, Sunny Hostin has strutted onto our screens, radiating a kind of confidence usually reserved for people who never have to defend their ideas beyond shouting headlines on a TV set. She's honed a public persona as the ultimate truth warrior, stepping into every segment as if single-handedly holding the gates of civilization against the forces of chaos. She shows up every day armed with what appears to be a mighty sword, ready to slay the dragons of conservative thought. Her role seems to be to rally the troops, tossing out sound bites dripping with righteous fury, especially when it comes to calling out those on the right. She's become adept at framing arguments with an almost theatrical passion, suggesting that her heartfelt convictions are, in themselves, proof of her correctness. Yet, as we would soon discover, those grand gates she so valiantly defended were often made of cardboard, and the chaos she so fiercely fought was frequently just a breeze of inconvenient facts. We've heard her dismiss those she disagrees with, once infamously characterizing a significant portion of the electorate, specifically uneducated white women, as the driving force behind certain political outcomes. This particular comment wasn't just a casual jab, it was a defining moment, setting the stage for the powerful counter-narrative that was about to unfold, highlighting a perceived elitism that would soon become her undoing. This was just one of many instances where her passionate rhetoric seemed to outpace any genuine commitment to factual consistency.
You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump, and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated.
CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis.
What truly sent shockwaves through the media landscape, however, was a particular incident involving 5,000 high school and college students. These young conservatives, members of Turning Point USA, undertook a significant journey, traveling from across the country to attend a summit, a testament to their dedication and belief in conservative ideals. Yet, instead of being acknowledged for their engagement, they found themselves inexplicably smeared by Hostin and her co-hosts on The View. The accusation, a baseless, insidious link to neo-Nazis, a claim so grotesque and unfounded it verged on pure fabrication. This wasn't just a casual jab or a typical on-air disagreement, it was a devastating assault on the reputations of 16 and 17-year-olds. Imagine being a young person, just finding your voice and engaging in the political process, only to have your character publicly assassinated on national television with a shadow of such a vile accusation cast over your name. Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, saw this not as a mere debate between public figures, but as an unforgivable defamation of innocent youth. He made it abundantly clear that they wouldn't let this go, that they were actively consulting some of the best lawyers out there, hinting at a potential major lawsuit against ABC. The gravity of such an accusation and its potential lasting impact on the lives and futures of these young people was profound. This wasn't just about winning a debate, it was about defending the very integrity and reputation of a generation.
But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
It's amazing. She's specifically, they're referring to the women, but of course it's the non-college educated men as well who voted for Donald Trump. And the nerve of this woman, to whom the country has given so much, to try to dump on people who didn't go to college. Look at you, look at your achievements. How do you like the so-called uneducated now, Sunny?
Enter Charlie Kirk. Kirk isn't known for subtlety, and that's precisely what makes his approach so devastatingly effective. He didn't need a direct televised shouting match to take on Hostin. Instead, he pulled out the biggest guns in his arsenal: meticulously gathered facts, undeniable data, and precise timelines that hit with the force of a freight train, crashing through Hostin's carefully constructed narrative. While Sunny was busy painting conservatives as extremists with a broad, almost caricature-like brush, Kirk was there, steadfast, to point out the glaring, almost absurd inconsistencies lurking beneath her righteous rants. His critique was simple, but devastating in its precision. Sunny's outrage wasn't rooted in genuine principle. It was, in Kirk's words, pure brand management. He meticulously detailed how she selectively ignited her fury, exhibiting a shocking pattern of indignation. She'd be a fiery advocate against political extremism when it came from the right, but miraculously, her outrage would vanish, or at least dim significantly, when similar or even worse instances occurred within the circles she associated with or supported. It was as if her moral compass only pointed one way. Voting records, public statements, patterns of behavior, all were laid bare, revealing that her Justice Warrior act was less about defending true justice and more about scoring points in the perpetual culture wars. The ultimate burn, the self-proclaimed outspoken moralist was caught waving the flag of justice only when it served her political convenience, a devastating indictment of her perceived authenticity. But Kirk's attack went deeper than just exposing professional hypocrisy. He zeroed in on what he termed Hostin's disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with the everyday realities of the rest of the world. Here was Sunny Hostin, a woman who had navigated the rigorous academic landscape, earning a degree from Binghamton and then graduating from the prestigious Notre Dame Law School. Her son was currently attending Harvard University, a symbol of elite education and opportunity, and yet this same individual, living in a sprawling, luxurious home that she had even showcased in People magazine, a testament to her immense own success and affluence, would sit on national television and vehemently condemn the very country that had afforded her such extraordinary privilege. She would routinely lash out at the perceived shortcomings of America, often by deriding or dismissing the intelligence of those who didn't share her elite educational background, such as the uneducated working class. Kirk didn't hold back, directly challenging her with biting sarcasm. How do you like the so-called uneducated now, Sunny? He held up her lavish lifestyle and impressive personal achievements as a stark, undeniable contrast to her public pronouncements of America's systemic failings and the supposed oppression faced by people like her. The irony was palpable. Someone who claimed America was awful and had kept us all in chains was living a life of extraordinary comfort and influence, afforded by the very system she so vehemently critiqued. This wasn't just a critique. It was a stark visual comparison of her words versus her luxurious reality, exposing a profound disconnect.
Sunny Hostin I think she went to Binghamton undergrad, and she went to Notre Dame Law School, which is a great law school. Her son right now is at Harvard. That son she wants us to think is sitting there oppressed, who she's got to fight on behalf of because America is so awful to him. They're educating him right now at Harvard University. And Jason, would you take a look at this? Because I'm going to guess, I haven't been to your house down in Tennessee, but I'm going to guess it doesn't look like this. This is Sunny Hostin's home in this shitty country that she can't stand, that doesn't treat Black people like Sunny well. She let People magazine feature her home. Look at this dump. This country sucks. She went to Notre Dame Law School. She makes millions on The View. Her son's at Harvard. I'm sure her daughter's at private school on her way to some Ivy League. This is where Sunny lives. And F off, America. I can't stand how you've kept us all in chains. That's her messaging.
I'm knocking.
Do you think if a liberal came to speak at University of Kentucky, they'd give an open mic like I just did to a conservative and had a discussion like this?
I certainly hope they would.
No, they wouldn't. Because speech is not a left-wing value. That is why they have to deploy shock troops called Antifa to go after everywhere I go. When I go to University of California, Davis next week, there has to be 120 police officers because of the threats, the violent threats of liberals that want me dead, that want to disrupt our events. There are no right-wing hecklers that come to events like this. I think it's rather clear there is one side that is trying to do everything they can to shut one side up, and one side that's trying to open up the marketplace of ideas. And I think that's rather self-evident.
Then, Megyn Kelly calmly stepped into the arena, armed with something even sharper than Kirk's sledgehammer, a receipt binder thicker than a law textbook, and a laser focus so precise it could dissect a fly mid-flight. Kelly wasn't there for petty name-calling or Twitter-style clapbacks. No, she was there to methodically peel back the layers of Hostin's media performances with the precision of a surgeon and the unwavering patience of a saint who's seen one too many media meltdowns. Kelly approached Hostin's attempts to reframe events like a seasoned trial lawyer prepping for court. Instead of engaging in pointless squabbles, she patiently laid out how Hostin cherry-picked context and spun narratives that, while sounding impressive and morally superior, ultimately collapsed under even the slightest scrutiny. It was the media equivalent of watching a magician reveal the secret behind a trick and realizing it was just a card hidden up a sleeve. Kelly's analysis showed that Hostin's version of the truth was more of a choose-your-own-adventure story, except every ending invariably led to a dramatic crescendo of outrage and moral posturing. She highlighted the pervasive media hypocrisy baked into this entire charade. For instance, when Sunny Hostin took aim at Brittany Mahomes, the wife of Patrick Mahomes, the famous Chiefs quarterback, simply for liking a Trump post online, Kelly exposed the glaring double standard. Hostin's pronouncement that, because Mahomes was in an interracial marriage, she should have known that to support a racist is problematic, was met with Kelly's calm dissection. Kelly pointed out the absurdity of this imposition, exposing how figures like Hostin thrive in echo. Chambers where their claims are accepted without challenge, and facts are merely optional extras. This detailed breakdown by Kelly demonstrated that Hostin's truth was less about objective reality and more about a carefully curated narrative designed for maximum emotional impact and audience applause. But the most astonishing revelation came when Sunny Hostin herself on The View disclosed a shocking truth about her family history, a moment that sent tremors through her public persona. With visible reluctance, she revealed that her mother's family, while Puerto Rican, actually originated from Spain. The reason they moved to Puerto Rico? The slave trade had been canceled in Spain and Curacao, so they moved all their slaves to the island. Her family business, she had been told throughout her life, involved printers and journalists. But the true story, unearthed by genealogical research, was far more complex and profoundly uncomfortable, revealing her direct descent from slaveholders. This bombshell, a personal history directly implicating her family in the brutal institution of slavery, landed with immense weight, creating a profound, almost surreal irony given her public role as a vocal champion of racial justice, a fierce critic of historical oppression, and a frequent accuser of others for perceived racial insensitivity. This wasn't a fact dug up by her critics. It was a self-inflicted blow, a moment of profound personal contradiction broadcast to millions, perfectly underscoring the deep inconsistencies and hypocrisies that Kirk and Kelly had been so meticulously exposing within her public persona. The revelation of her family business having been rooted in the slave trade provided an almost unbearable level of irony, given her outspoken stances.
Sunny Hostin of The View finds out that this is fantastic. She is descended from slaveholders. Here's what she said when she went out on The View.
Really reluctant to do it because I just sensed that there could be something in my family history that would be disappointing. But what I found out was that my mother's family, while they are Puerto Rican, they actually originate from Spain. And the reason that they moved to Puerto Rico is because the slave trade had been sort of canceled in Spain and then Curacao, and then they moved all of their slaves to Puerto Rico. And so the family business, I had been told that they were printers and journalists.
First of all, I'm thrilled you're doing the next debate, Megyn. That's a step in the right direction, because honestly, you're going to ask the tough questions very firmly and fairly. More, that Univision person that was there a couple debates ago is just obviously had an agenda, and you're going to hold them accountable. And also, you have a really big audience of people of all different political backgrounds. And finally, Megyn, I think, and I don't know what you're going to ask, but I would imagine you're going to get some answers on this trans thing, which I think is a civilizational defining issue, right? That has not received any attention
by NBC,
right?
Not a question.
Because they know it's a loser.
What made this demolition so utterly satisfying wasn't loud insults or dramatic confrontations. It was surgical in its precision. Neither Kirk nor Kelly needed to face Sunny directly on a debate stage. There was no heated emotional exchange. No on-air shouting match. Their takedown happened off stage in their own commentary and analysis, delivered with a detached, almost academic rigor that cut deeper than any shouted insult ever could. Kirk's fact-driven hammer met Kelly's razor-sharp analysis, and Sunny's entire public persona crumbled like a poorly baked souffle. She wanted to be the voice of reason, the cultural gatekeeper, the defender of progressive values. Instead, she looked like someone desperately trying to hold together a leaky boat with duct tape, and failing spectacularly. The surgical precision of their attack lay in their ability to simply pull back the curtain and let the contradictions do the talking, revealing how shaky her foundation really was. It's the kind of destruction that's almost polite in its efficiency, yet leaves the target utterly exposed. The house of cards that was her carefully curated image simply collapsed under the calm, rational scrutiny it had so long avoided. The louder Sunny tried to proclaim her moral high ground, the quieter the space around her seemed to become, as her emotionally charged arguments withered under the unwavering light of truth and logic. In the end, this whole episode serves as a powerful cautionary tale about the dangers of confusing airtime for genuine authority. Sunny Hostin may have the platform, the camera, and the confidence, but Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly showed with undeniable clarity that without a backbone of facts and honest analysis, even the loudest voices can be reduced to whispers. When you peel back the layers of Hostin's outrage, you find a lot of passion and very little consistent principle. She's less the fearless defender of truth she likes to portray herself as, and more a performer on a media stage designed for applause, not accuracy. Her moral outrage, Kirk argued, wasn't earned. It was rented, and the lease was up when inconvenient facts came knocking. So, if you ever wonder what happens when someone builds their entire public identity on emotion and selective outrage, just remember this story, because when two people armed with clarity and facts come for your carefully curated narrative, there's nowhere to hide, no debates needed, no quotes required, just the quiet, devastating power of truth doing its work. It wasn't messy, it wasn't loud, it was brilliantly simple. They exposed the contradictions, highlighted the hypocrisy, and watched the house of cards fall.